Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Actor, director, producer, and author Eriq La Salle has teamed with Ebony Publishing for the release of a crime thriller series. The first, which drops on November 1st, is Laws of Depravity. And joining us now to talk about this series of books is none other than Eriq La Salle. How you doing, Eriq?
Yes, hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. This is exciting. So here's a guy, Eriq La Salle, who's played on some great dramas, ER, Law and Order, of course, and on the big screen. But now you're doing a crime series of books. How did that come about?
It's just an extension of storytelling. I started off as an actor, of course. Then at some point, I got interested in directing, and then interested in producing. And so this was just something that I think it always been a fantasy, and you kind of sort of talk yourself out of it, and you're intimidated, and you tell yourself you're not smart enough to write a novel, and all of that stuff. And then you get in and you start doing it, and I just I love storytelling, so it was just sort of like this natural progression for me of my journey as a storyteller.
Well, and so your approach to writing, did any of your roles that you've played, whether on television or in the movies, influence this writing?
Actually, very much, yeah. I years ago, back in the '90s, I produced and starred in a television movie called Mind Prey, which was based on a novel by John Sanford, and it's a thriller series. And his main character is Lucas Davenport. And it's a wildly popular thriller series. So after playing that role, which was, of course, written as a white male protagonist. So after portraying it and producing the movie, I just got interested in the genre. I like the edge. I like the sit on the edge of your seat waiting, and like that type of thing really fits into my style of storytelling. So that was really kind of one of the inspirations. And then, like I said, I think it just kind of grew out of a natural sense of wanting to tell stories. And but I would say if there was any singular influence of as far as something that's in the body of my work, I would definitely have to attribute it to that.
Yeah, and it's a trilogy, 3 parts, right?
Well, actually, I'm working on the fourth book. So yeah, so there will be 4 books, plus there is a novella. So in the first book, which drops, Laws of Depravity, drops next Tuesday, November 1st. And so I added a novella prequel at the end of the book. So so technically, you have 4 novels and the novella in the series.
And now I've written books myself, but I can't imagine thinking ahead to the next book. You got 4 coming. I mean, how did you do that?
It's once you get into it and I think you've picked the right type characters. I think the character starts speaking to you. And I think that the stories, as you start writing one story, you're like, wow, this would be an interesting avenue to explore. Now, I might not be able to explore it in this book, but wow, that's interesting. I want to live more with this character, and whether
Right.
that's the main character, whether it's a supporting character. And so the subsequent stories or books that after the first one basically just grew out of that. And then what I wanted to, the book is in the tone of the movie Seven.
Okay.
And it's very, very similar in the sense that it takes place, it's in New York City. It's a salt and pepper team of detectives. One is Irish and Italian American. The other one is African American. And these are 2 of the best closers in the NYPD. And so they start investigating high profile serial killings. And so this first in the first novel, They are then joined by a white female FBI agent. So it's the three of them. They're the franchise, and they pursue these high-profile serial killings that need to be stopped right away because they're so gruesome. So it's tonally, it's very much very similar to the movie Seven, which is one of my favorite movies. So that's how we start, and then we move on to the next case for the second book, the next case for the third book, the next case for the fourth book, and that's how that came about.
So the first book, I understand, Laws of Depravity. There's, correct me, of course, if I'm wrong, 36 priests are butchered in this book.
So what's the history is that you have I read this interesting, what motivated this book, or what inspired this book, was years ago, I read an article, and a lot of people don't know this, but biblical scholars discuss this. It's not actually in the Bible, but it is discussed quite often by biblical scholars. A lot of people don't know, but all of Jesus's disciples were brutally murdered. And we're not just talking about the 12 disciples that we know. Jesus had what was called the greater and the lesser disciples. So total, it was about 26, almost 30, like 30. So each of them were killed in heinous ways. They were beheaded. They were crucified upside down. They were torn limb from limb. So I had this concept of, what if I had a modern day serial killer who started killing clergy in the same manner that Jesus's disciples were killed? And so what he does, the MO of this particular serial killer, is that every 10 years, he comes out, he kills 12 clergy, which is connected to, of course, the Last Supper. So he kills 12 clergy, and then he goes underground for 10 years. And he also switches cities. So he started in San Francisco, he did Chicago, he did Boston, and now our current story picks him up in New York City, and the killings have begun. So a total of 36 have already been killed. So he's trying to complete his cycle, and they feel that after this cycle, he's going to disappear forever. So of course, the stakes are even greater for them to catch him. So that's the impetus of everything. Yeah.
And they have like 30 days or something like that, or it happens over 30 days?
Well, like I said, he comes out, he kills basically over the course of 30 days. But right now, the scary thing is that he's actually accelerating that kill time. So whereas before he was very methodical, he was killing, maybe every 3 or 4 days. Now he's doing quite a bit. So something else is going on. So it again raises the stakes and makes our heroes have to, bring him down even quicker, because he's escalating to a point that they can't quite figure out. He's breaking his own profile. He's been very, very meticulous and very specific and disciplined to how he kills. Now he's doing something different, and of course in the course of the investigation they understand why, and it makes it even more frightening, so they have to really speed up to try to catch and stop this guy.
Yeah, we're talking with Eriq La Salle, the A-list actor, producer, and now best-selling author. He has a series coming out, a crime thriller series. Ebony Books is actually publishing this. This is an interesting marriage. And so let's talk about the fact that, okay, laws of depravity, laws of innocence, laws of wrath, and laws of annihilation. Right. Which helps you more, being a producer or an actor, when you're writing these books? What helps you more?
I think all disciplines, if you're a storyteller, all disciplines influence you. Obviously, having the opportunity to start out as an actor, I'm very character driven. I'm very much into what's the psychology of the characters. I think that makes for a much more intriguing read, which is why I love doing novels, because you can get into people's heads, you can get into their past, you can get into their consciousness and subconsciousness. So for me, all of it, being an actor helps me as a writer, being a writer helps me as an actor, being a writer helps me as a director, being a director helps me, so they all basically come back in one way or another to complement each other. to tell the most sincere and honest story, and also to have the stakes of really good suspense, and understand great character work, and understanding that even when a character does some really evil things, there is a reason for it. And so when I started my acting career, I attended the Juilliard School and NYU's grad school. And the thing that one of the first things they teach you is don't judge your character.
Right.
So I apply the things that I learned as an actor. So even if I'm writing about someone who's doing something very horrific, I'm not judging them. I'm justifying in their minds. I'm justifying why they're doing it, and I think it makes for much more complex, rich stories. You don't. So all bad people, all bad people are all bad, all good people are all good. No, we live somewhere in the world in between all of that. And I think it's the artist's job, no matter what your discipline, it's the artist's job to present an objective point of view about that. So that really has helped me. So now, as a result of that, people read the book and they're actually torn between someone doing something so heinous. It's very similar to like in Silence of the Lambs. Like we all rooted for Anthony Hopkins, who was a cannibal. He was a cannibal, he ate people. And yet the character was so rich and so dynamic and so interesting and layered that we ended up rooting for him. His final line was, "I must go now. I'm having a friend for dinner." And we're like, yeah, you know what I mean? So I think if you present a character, regardless of what they do, if you present them in a multi-dimensional way, in a very layered way, I think it gives people a little more insight to them. And I think it sometimes conflicts how they feel, because it's just like, I'm not supposed to like this guy. I'm not supposed to, or even the hero, I'm supposed to like them, but I don't, but I also want them to do the right thing. So I love playing in that space as far as storytelling goes.
And as you're writing the books, when you start to the process of writing the book, do you already have a conclusion in mind, or are you letting the character take you somewhere, towards your completion?
A little bit of both, more of the latter. I'm not, some authors start off with index cards and they put them in a room on a board and it kind of maps out everything, every chapter, every act. I'm not that organized. I don't create that way. I create from, hey, this is the story I want to tell. I might have a general idea of what direction I want it to go in, but I write from a point of view of letting things evolve on their own, and characters demanding more attention, demanding more page space, because like they'll do something. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. I want to know more about that. So then all of a sudden that one character grows more and more. So it's me listening to the characters, even though I'm writing the characters. I think the job of the author is to, and the writer is to listen to the character. And so that tells me where I'm going. And I mean, and then I'll, sometimes I'll change. And there's a beautiful thing when a character starts fighting for its existence. And so you start falling in love with the character. Oh, I was going to kill this character. Yep. I can't kill them now. Or wow, it would be really cool to kill this person that was supposed to be the hero or whatever. So I like playing with all of those, but it's really just sort of more of an organic evolution of storytelling, of which direction I go and where it ends. I start off with a cool general idea, but that could change, and I can go left when I thought I was going to go right. I can go right when I thought I was going to go left, but it just keeps it moving.
Yeah, you gave the example of the Silence of the Lambs and how folks started rooting for the Anthony Hopkins character, and as you state, it kind of happens as you wrote in your book, or at the process of writing anyway. How much does the audience, how much do you think about the audience and what they may like? How much does that go into it?
Well, I think a lot, but I think you have to write your best story. And I think that a lot of times when we try to edit it, don't edit your art, just do it. So I don't, I keep that in mind as far as I want the most compelling story. I want twists and turns, because when you're in the thriller genre, of
Hmm.
course, twists and turns are very important. It's important to stay ahead of the audience. So just as they start thinking they know, oh, I know where this is going, I know what's going to happen, you hit them with something that makes them go, oh, wow, I didn't see that one coming. So I think about the audience more in that regard of, how do I outsmart them? How do I stay ahead of them? How do I deliver thrills and chills and surprises? So from that point of view, I'm very much aware of the reader and the audience and how I want it to play out. But as far as writing to appease and writing to, I write, and my job is to do it intelligently, to do it in an unpredictable manner, and in which it's delivered. So I stay true to those, and like I said, I let the audience motivate me, just because I give the audience and I give readers a lot of respect for their intelligence. I think a lot of times TV shows and movies insult people's intelligence. I operate from the point of view that the audience is intelligent, and for those that's not, I think it's our job to elevate them, not to lower our art. And so let the art make them go, oh, wow, I've got to step up. Because sometimes when I read a book, and that book might be like way over my head, but it's up to me to do research. It's up to me to look up words I don't know. It's up to me to, if they introduce a subject I know, it's up to me. So it's my job as a reader in that instance to rise to the level of the writer. And I put that same responsibility on writers, on readers and audience, that they need to, like, people don't know that Jesus's disciples were brutally murdered. Well, now they get an education, and then they're like, "Oh, that's interesting." Then afterwards, they can go look it up. They can, do more research on it. But our story is very much, grounded in things that people might not know. But it's there to elevate, not to, like I said, lower one's standards of storytelling.
Yeah, I read where James Patterson wrote or spoke a great review of this book, really encouraging folks to read these books. What does it mean to hear that another writer, certainly someone of that caliber, is endorsing your work?
Well, look, I mean, James Patterson and Stephen King are the two most prolific writers in history.
Mhm.
And on any given day, I think they kind of switch roles of which is. But I mean, these are hugely successful authors that have sold millions upon millions of books. So whenever you have someone of that caliber that's established and sort of gives you the stamp of approval and say, "Hey, you did it right." I mean, it means a lot, because clearly they know what they figured the formula out. You know what I mean? So I'm a relatively young writer.
Right.
I'm still trying to I figured out the formula for myself, but we're trying to also crack the code that's much more global, which is what these guys have done. So getting a stamp of approval from someone, like James Patterson on that level, I mean, trust me, that was a very giddy and happy day when my agent called me and said, James Patterson just gave you a great blurb, and just, and you're like, and great endorsement, and you're like, wow, those are the things that you dream of. I mean, it's just like, look, when Kobe first got into the league, it was Michael Jordan, patting him on the back, saying, that makes you feel like, wow, I've arrived in that, even before I've earned all of this, I've arrived on that level, just as far as someone acknowledging that, okay, this guy can write, this guy can tell a story. So that makes me feel really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you bounce your ideas when you're writing off, say, a loved one or a confidant?
Not really. I mean, I try to keep things sort of in my head, and every once in a while, if my assistant is here, I might, hey, give me your opinion on something. But I have I'm fortunate enough to have a very cool collection of very intelligent people that love to read in my circle.
Oh,
So the
great.
minute something is done, I give it to them, and they rip me apart, and they give me advice, and that's the cool thing, is like they're not afraid to hold back. They know I don't want to hear, I don't need sycophants. I need like people to tell me the truth, and so they do, and so it makes me a
And
better.
that makes you rare.
Yeah, I mean, I like living in reality and not in some little fantasy that you create. I don't think you grow that way. So these people really they challenge me. They really challenge me, and they make me a better writer. And so I've been, very blessed. So I usually wait to share, and give it to them. Yeah.
Yeah. We mentioned James Patterson and his endorsement. Has there been in Hollywood, when you've done some great stuff, have there been someone that gave you that stamp of approval as an actor or a producer that really put some extra pep in your step?
Yeah, I was blessed when I was in college. I was in my senior year at NYU, and I was doing a South African play. I was doing a play by a South African playwright by the name of Atul Fugard, and very, very popular. This is during the whole apartheid era, and James Earl Jones was on Broadway doing another one of his plays. James Earl Jones was doing Master Harold and the Boys on Broadway with Christopher Plummer. And we had the same speech teacher. And so my speech teacher said, you should go to the play and you should go backstage. I was like, I can't go backstage. That's James Earl Jones. And I went, she said, no, it's cool. I go backstage. He couldn't have been more gracious. He couldn't have been more kind. And that really meant a lot to me. And then 2 weeks later, he came to NYU, to this tiny, tiny little theater, to see me do a play. And then he and I, of course, worked together on Coming to America. But then also my directorial debut, which was a movie called Rebound for HBO with Don Cheadle and Forrest Whitaker. I cast James Earl Jones. So it was great to see this relationship evolve from me being this wide-eyed, student, and him coming to see me, and then being somewhat of a peer when we did Coming to America, and then me being the director and directing James Earl Jones. So we've stayed in touch, and I was able to bring my nephew generations later to see him, and so it's just that's been something that has always really meant a lot to me, and that really gave me a great boost to be able to work with someone of that status, in three different capacities, or to be dealing with him in three different capacities. It was awesome.
Yeah, artists don't always say this, but it seems to me that you mentioned James Earl Jones, the stage as opposed to the screen, which is more challenging?
Look, they have their own challenges. I don't think one can say, one is more challenging than the other. I mean, there are challenges. Trust me, there's so many challenges in doing a play, and the fact that it's live, and
Right.
all the things that can go wrong. But doing a television show or a movie has its own challenges, and so it's I respect both. I don't think one is more challenging, or has more challenges. I think they're equally challenged, and they just bring out different things.
Yeah, the great actor Eriq La Salle, he's jumped into the fray. Author, Laws of Depravity comes out November 1st, Ebony Publishing, then followed by Laws of Innocence, Laws of Wrath, and Laws of Annihilation. Eriq, are you going to do more writing after this series? Do you already have something in the works?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. And Laws of Innocence is a novella. So the novella is the prequel. So we added that into the book of. So when you buy
Okay.
Laws of Depravity, you read the book, and then at the end of it, there's a novella about the prequel. So those two are combined. And then, of course, the follow-up is Laws of Wrath. And then the next one is Laws of Annihilation. And then I'm working on the fourth one now as well. So those are, the ways that I'm letting this story unfold. I will look at doing either continuing this series. I do have another book I'm working on right now, which is a family drama. So it's a completely different genre. And it is loosely based on my mother. And so it's very, very different. It's very emotional.
Personal.
So I'm just constantly, I'm constantly trying to find different ways to express, my hunger and passion for storytelling.
Wow. Well, it sounds all interesting. Folks, Ebony Publishing, you can get that starting November 1st. We look forward to it, Eriq, and hopefully at some point in the future, you'll come back to the Black Press and tell us about a new project.
Oh, most definitely, brother. I'm back. And the great thing is for the series, every 6 months, a new book will be released. So the first book, of course, is released next week, November 1st. And then May 1st, Laws of Wrath will be released. And then 6 months after that, Laws of Annihilation. And then 6 months after that, the fourth book. So for the next 2 years, I'll have a book coming out every 6 months. So I'm really excited about that and the opportunity to, share this with people.
Well, we're excited. The folks at Ebony is excited. We've talked to them. So it's a lot to be excited about. Eriq La Salle, we thank you so much for joining the Black Press. Let It Be Known.
Oh, thank you for having me. Truly a pleasure. And I will definitely be back if you'll have me. Okay.
Absolutely. Everybody, get the books and enjoy your day.
Pre-order, get them. Let's get those numbers up. And hit me on social media. Let me know what you think. But let's.
Where can they find you on social media?
I am on Twitter. I am Eriq La Salle 23 on what's the other one?
Instagram, Facebook.
Okay, Instagram. Yes, I always forget. Yeah, Instagram. I'm just Eriq La Salle. And definitely, reach out and let me know what you think. But yeah, I'm here to stay.
Absolutely. And the kids call it the gram. I think they still call it the
gram. Yeah, that's what I was searching for. I was like, I know it is. What is it? Is it? Yeah, the gram. So yes, Instagram, obviously. And it's been great because as soon as we announced last week that the book was coming out, I've been getting really hit. Lots of questions and people already pre-ordering, showing me pictures. Hey, I got it. And so I just want to say to any of those fans that are listening, how much I appreciate that support, and we are really nothing without you guys. And so having the support, especially an artist that's trying something different, and people are used to a person doing one thing and they don't always take a chance on that person when they try to do something else. But the turnout and the response and the support is amazing. And I just want to take this time to say, thank you to those that have supported me, and thank you in advance to those that will support me. And I hope people pre-order the book. I hope they go out and we make some noise, because there's also, beyond me doing this, there aren't many African Americans in this genre of thriller stories. And so it means a lot to have a voice and have our voice in the mix there. So that type of support is really important. And I thank you guys.
All right. Well, thanks again. We really appreciate it. And again, buy the book. Thanks for joining Let It Be Known.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Take care. Have a great day.